welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we will focus in on the proposed increase in electricity tariff. We also have new stories for you. We will be right back. The Steel and Engineering Workers Union of Nigeria of the auto and precision sectors has raised the alarm over massive job losses and factory closures in the industry. The union linked the redundancy and outright factory closures witnessed in the union's subsector to a harsh and dwindling economy.
In our sector in particular, the automobile sector, and the precision sector, they privatized so many companies. We cried out that time that what we were doing was wrong. The BPE merely sold the companies to friends and relations who have no business managing companies. They have no skill, no expertise, to manage manufacturing. Some of them were even car sellers, So they messed up the whole place. Automobile sector is completely out. There's no single one of the companies that they privatize functioning today. And NAMCO is there. It's not functioning. Volkswagen is completely out. Peugeot Automobile is the only one that is. They are not manufacturing. But the essence is to manufacture or assemble. Not one of them.
Speaking on the conference theme, which was occupational safety and health management in steel and engineering industry in Nigeria, labor experts maintain that safety management is a function of both workers and management of the organizations.
The theme for this year is occupational safety and health management in steel and engineering industry in Nigeria. It's a relevant choice based on the need to key into the decent work agenda as exposed by International Labour Organization, ILO.
The Factory Act and the Labour Act, they are all followers of ILO Convention number 155 of 1981, and also the Labour Inspection Convention number 81 of 1947. So this will enforce, safety rules and regulations, and make sure that a very good working environment is created for the worker to work. We look at your safety wears, safety boots, your hand gloves, your nose masks. Even before this era of nose masks, these are one of the things we expect in factories.
It was recommended that employers should pay workers a monument that is commensurate with work delivery.
These retired police officers in Kaduna State are not happy with the poor retirement benefits they receive after 35 years of dedicated service to the nation. They come out into the streets in a peaceful protest, holding placards with various inscriptions while chanting solidarity songs. They are displeased with the contributory pension scheme and demand that the police officers be withdrawn from it, just as was done for their counterparts in sister security agencies. They say the monthly take-home of a retired officer under the said scheme is poor. They are also not happy that gratuity, which was changed to lump sum, has been slashed and retired officers now receive meager amounts.
And the government felt it very, very important to send us to a particular pension, which they call a contributory pension scheme. It is not just a contributory, it is a killer. We call it a killer company. We are not interested. My pension is 46,511 naira. If I was selling granite for 35 years, I would have gathered that amount. You know what happened? When I was going, what they paid me as a lump sum money, was 3,500,000 naira. 3 million CSP. If I was selling granite at that very particular time, I would have gathered 3,500,000 naira for 35 good years.
I retired as a DSP of police, equivalent to a captain in the Nigerian Army. While a captain in the Nigerian Army is given 180,000 naira pension, I'm given 40,000 naira, at times 38,000 naira. We have become beggars.
The protesters submitted a communique containing their requests at the headquarters of the Kaduna State Police Command. Elsewhere, a group of concerned northern youths are calling for the immediate sack of the governor of the Nigerian Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele. They say his underperformance has worsened the nation's economic situation.
Since he is deemed incompetent, totally out of ideas, and has become a burden to the Nigerian economic system. We ask that Mr. President sack Emefiele now before it becomes too late to reshape the Nigerian economy.
Both groups are demanding a response from the federal government as soon as possible.
An increase in what we pay at the moment is not justified because the argument ostensibly is built on inflation, built on all the other aggregate factors that are oftentimes accompanying the economic indices, which very often tell badly on the bottom line of the discourse. But the reality is that the discourse don't operate in isolation in the economy. Whatever is affecting these companies also affects the common man. So if you're not increasing his purchasing power, if you're not increasing his take home, why put the burden on him? We need to look for ways of making the economy more productive, make the manufacturing sector more productive, to ensure that the power problem can be solved and that the consumer does not suffer unnecessarily, unduly, for factors that are well beyond his own control.
I feel it's increased already. Due to the fact that most of us use prepaid these days, it means that the same token I used last month, let's say I used maybe 10,000 last month, the next month you feel you are using 15K, and even the rate at which you are getting light have dropped, yet the price is still going up. So they've implemented it already. For me, I think it's implemented. I stay around Ajaero, and in that area, we are experiencing the fact that the tariff is increased already.
On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the General Secretary of the National Union of Electricity Employees, who also doubles as the Deputy President of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Comrade Ajaero spoke on the need for the federal government to have a power policy to ensure that the system is being organized. It's good to have you on the program after a very long time. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
Recently, the 11 power distribution companies once again got approval from NEC to further increase the electricity tariff. And the document actually got leaked out from a co-distribution company. And later on, there was also a refusal report stating that the document should not be considered true. Looking at the back and forth of it, we all know that there's an increase, and to be reflective by October. Was the committee inaugurated by the president to look into the justification of this increase? Was the committee consulted before this decision took place?
A lot. There was a recommendation that Labour must be represented in the jobs of the NEC, the Regulatory Commission, because the people are at the receiving end. So you can't be shaving heads of people in their heads in their absence. You know, we equally looked at the issue of these two other assumptions that they should not be factors. You know, the issue of inflation, the issue of devaluation, we say those are not, you know, whatever happens in our own industry, in our own country, you know, should be used to determine this. And the cost of living index, the salary of workers in the country, you know, must be taken into effect. And we equally say that some of these companies were set up, especially the generating companies, some 40, some 30 years ago. So it's not like they are bringing equipment in foreign currency, you know, to now justify such increases. We stated all these issues and nobody has looked at them. And then we equally insisted that government still maintains 40% in these companies, and that no 1% profit has been declared for government. You know, all these issues, we raised it. You sold your company, you know, where you have 40%, you handed it over to the person, handed 100% over to the person. You keep on paying the person money to the tune of over 1.5 trillion, you know, and then you allow the person to charge tariff at whatever pace. So there's a problem there.
Recently, President Muhammadu Buhari sacked the Minister for Power. What would be Labour's reaction to this development?
Well, I wouldn't even know why Mr. President should have appointed that man as Minister of Power. I don't know. Either based on his antecedents, based on what he has done before and what he's capable of doing. There could be every other consideration in his appointment apart from competence. Every other consideration. He came and his period was a period of silence. Nothing happened that time. The little gain we were making went down. Then he came in, it wasn't a few months, the PAMSEC there resigned. He started querying a PAMSEC for not directing him to a venue of meeting. You can see what happened in the Rural Electrification Agency, sack and no sack. The bulk trader, sack and no sack. The TCN, sack and no sack. Thereafter, the person you people appointed as minister by the president assumed powers higher than the president. The president appointed the board of TCN for months, not into 1 year, and asked him to inaugurate. He refused to inaugurate it. He overruled the president. That's what. And I can't see him articulate any issue anywhere, TV, radio, anywhere, or walk into any workstation and address the workers. He was just there plotting. I think that he did more harm in that sector, but however, he has left.
There's a report by the World Bank that states that Nigerians pay less for electricity compared to what it costs to supply electricity. Looking at this index, many times at different fora is the reason why the federal government usually approve the increase in electricity tariff. As a Labour leader, the Deputy President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, how would you react to this?
We have not had leaders, that will tell them that we don't need their prescription. From the days of SAP, and then as student union leaders, then we engage them and came up with policies of there's alternative to SAP, and we engage them. This power reform and privatization is their document, and they foisted it on debtor nations. If Nigeria is not owing them, what will World Bank director be telling us here? We'll wait for him at the airport and send him back to go back to his country. But we'll keep on, accepting them, because maybe they may have gone there to take one loan or the other. Now, what are the indices they are using? Which country are you comparing us with? Which GDP are you using? Are you comparing us with America or where? Are they talking of, Nigeria post-industrialization or Nigeria as an under-industrialized nation? Now you have to look at them. If Nigeria, you are talking about Nigeria post-industrialization, it's a different thing. Europe, pre-industrialization couldn't have charged this tariff. They won't. America won't. But if you have an industrialized environment, this tariff and whatever will be for industries. At times people compare Nigeria with South Africa. How many companies do we have here? These are the people that pay the industries. While the rural areas, at times they have tariff holidays to sustain them. And you are calling yourself an economist of World Bank, still talking of tariff in the country. This tariff, who is to pay it? Is it the more than 70% of Nigerians that are not working? And you at the same time, you are seeing that country as the poverty capital of the whole world. Now, a country that is poverty capital of the whole world, why will you compare the tariff they are paying with the countries that are doing well? I'm looking forward to the day some of our leaders will look at them and mess them, find out what is happening to them, and whether they are agents of destabilization to this economy. Because when they come out with some of these bad economic policies and you adopt it, they are the same people that will be using CNN to tell you that there's riot in Lagos and Abuja. So people should learn to disregard them and ask them to keep part of their loan that they're giving us with conditionalities. When they give you loan to develop the power sector, they will join in there. They will bring the technicians that will work there. Some of them are not qualified engineers. So such dictates should be stopped.
In January, there was a 50% increase in electricity tariff. That was January 2021. And so also, it came just barely 2 months after the controversial implementation of another tariff increase. Looking at the several increments that Nigerians actually have been passing through in terms of what they have to pay in tariff for what the electricity they have to consume, would you say that Nigerians are the only ones paying the brunt or getting the effects of the privatization of the electricity sector?
Well, I think it's going to be continuous, but what some of us are concerned about is just the frequency at which it was coming up. And the complicity of the Nigerian state, to threaten the current tariff increases. By the time it was NEPA, it was static for almost 8 or 7 years or 10 years. And government was not funding the sector. Now, it was sold to individual, the private sector. And they have, between 2013 to date, they have done close to 7 or 8 increases. The increases have gone close to 400 to 500%. And government has moved in over 1.5 trillion into the sector, funding it. Now, that's where the confusion comes from. If government had funded the then NEPA with just 20% or 30% of that, tariff would have remained static. Power would have improved. Jobs would have been protected all the while. So for now, the whole essence and the job of the Regulatory Commission is to increase tariff. I don't think there's anyone have been able to fashion out any other job or responsibility of the regulatory agency, if not to increase tariff. And it will continue, like I said, it will continue until Nigerians decide to ask questions.
From reports, more than $800 billion is the shortfall that the regulatory agencies and other stakeholders have stated as the shortfall that they experience from what they should be getting as tariff. Vis-a-vis also the fact that Nigerians are not experiencing enough electricity supply. Also looking at the fact that from time to time, we get to hear reports of the national grid collapse. I know it's a twin question. How would you react to this development?
If you increase tariff by 100% today, you put over 500 billion shortfall in tariff. You are charging tariff that cannot be paid, and you call it shortfall in tariff. Who will pay it? If I can afford 20 naira and you charge me tariff of 40 naira, do you expect to collect the other 20 naira? That's how they are assuming tariff shortfall. Meanwhile, the whole essence of paying that trillion, what was it for? The issue of grid collapse could be minimized. I'm not sure that the countries all over the world, no matter how they are high tech, can say they will not experience grid collapse. But it could be minimized. The frequency could be reduced. A country can stay 1 year without witnessing it. You can go into embedded generation. We can decide to decentralize the grid we are having, because the size of the grid equally could lead to problems. We can have a grid that covers Lagos alone. We can have a grid that covers maybe 3, 4, 5 states. We can have 2, 3 grids in Nigeria that could be maintained, that could be serviced, and that could work. However, where you have people who are not proactive, we have frequency of grid collapses. If you don't have even enough power going to the grid, it could lead to collapse. Now, you see people, even the power plants, they can't even service them. They have 200 megawatts, they fire it at the same time. Ordinarily, you can put one machine off and service it before putting others. But if you fire them, the very moment, there's a fault, the 200 goes down. If you don't have enough power in the system to maintain the grid, you start to notice, it will be wobbling. From wobbling, you hear of grid collapse before you bring them up. These are things we experience, but when the frequency is constant, you start to think whether people are proactive, anticipating that ABCD could happen at certain periods of the year. Now, there could be power improvement, the water level is high. Is anybody thinking of servicing the, gas plants, before the water level goes down? Because now we have more supply from the hydro stations. If you are putting the hydro stations up now on top, and you still fire the gas plants on top, by the time the water level will be going, if there's any fault in the gas plants, the system will start going down. So I think people should be proactive, and there should be a conscious master plan. But the unfortunate thing is that at today, nobody knows the power policy of this administration. I've said this time without number. I've said that if the PDP government came with a privatization, and I've only said that the APC government has sustained it to where it is today. And I equally say that Nigerians have evaluated the two and discovered that this privatization, is not working. That the investors are smiling to the market, why it leads to disaster to the consumers or customers. So these are the two things that Nigerians are talking about. And nobody have said, wait a minute, what is happening? Why is it not working? And part of the MOU signed is that after 5 years, there will be a review of this process. This is the 8th year running. Nobody, the powers that be there, they are very powerful. They click, the mafia in the power sector will not allow you to evaluate this. And the presidency, the Nigerian government seem to succumb to this. So what do you do?
Looking at this shortfall and its variables, there's also this data out there that states that if Nigerians do not pay this increase in electricity tariff, there is this possibility that the federal government will actually have to pay more than 34 trillion naira by the year 2023 for us to actually continue to enjoy electricity supply. How would you react to this?
How can you provide money for an individual's business? I have a place, maybe I'm selling kerosene now. The government, I'll say, oh, if I don't have money, I will not be able to buy 1 drum of kerosene. Say, government will provide me money. How? And government will equally allow me to increase tariff 2-3 times. Last year, around November, December, it was almost 100% or more. But around January, February, they increase. Now they're increasing it again. And then government provides. They are not telling us the truth. They are blackmailing the government. And that was our fear initially when we were campaigning against, transferring public monopoly to private monopoly. They can decide not to generate tomorrow until government will do something. They hold government the juggler. Since that time, they licensed over to something private companies. They would have allowed them to start operations. Government now transfers the same NEPA they said were inefficient. They were obsolete. For the past 8 years, the same NEPA. They have not built one plant. The discos are not changing the transformers. Even the little being generated is not being distributed because the transformers are down and they can't replace it. And they're blackmailing government. Bring trillion, bring billion. If I'm in the shoes of this government, apart from not giving them any cover, we'll recover the ones they have looted already. At the point it was privatized, people were owing electricity bills because bills are paid for the following year, running into billions. There was no liability given to them. That day they resumed, people that were owing NEPA bills, they collected it. In fact, within the first 3 months, they recovered the so-called money they paid. And government, they're still blackmailing government. So there's something that we don't know. Now, the 3 billion trillion they are talking of, is it part of government's 40%? Some of these areas we are giving to them on credit. And they are making noise. Forget them, there's nothing like that. Nigeria wasn't dying, when there was, no subvention from government to NEPA. There was no cover. There was a time it was just 200 million that government was giving to electricity. If they had commercialized it and allowed the private people to build their own plants, it would have been better. We recommended this, that in the telecom system, all of them are running their businesses free, without interference. The same thing happened in NTA. NTA was there. They didn't sell NTA. AIT, TVC, all these people came. They are doing business side by side. We told them that UNESCO, a company in Jos, is doing business, since 1929, charging their tariff, having their own line, running electricity in about 2-3 local governments in Jos. People can decide to connect to their line or connect to NEPA. We explain all this to them. Even if you say NEPA is not offering services, they are obsolete. People can hook to them because of their cost. Because market is all about choice. These people are charging less. Let me follow them. These people are giving 24 hours. Let me follow them. I'll manage myself. That was why they sabotaged what is it called? NITEL line. If NITEL line is in existence today, these other guys, they won't be charging us what they are charging now. NITEL line might be inefficient but cheap. On the basis of its cheapness, people can subscribe to it. Market, is all about choice. But now they have forced everybody. You must belong to this electricity so-called power sector, and they gave them name companies based on regions. Enugu Electricity, once here. In Enugu Electricity, you can have 4 companies operating in Enugu. But this one, all the people in Enugu, in the southeast must key into Enugu. That's not business. That's not how to do it.
Thank you very much for your time on the program.
God bless you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.